Hello, my name's Naomi Roper, and I'm the head of banking at Capsticks LLP in London. A little bit about me: I specialize in social housing finance, acting for registered provider borrowers and their funders, something I've now been doing for over 19 years. And I'm also an ESG specialist, and the Disruption House contacted me and asked me if I could give my thoughts on why I think law firms really should have an ESG capability. Now, I'm quite new to Capsticks. I've only been there for 4 months. And so I'm at the beginning of deciding what I want my practice to be. And I know that it is hugely important to me that Capsticks have a full service ESG capability. And that's not going to be something we're going to be able to achieve overnight. We know that. It's going to be something that's going to be a bit of a journey. But I do think that it is really vital that law firms have the ability to understand and speak the language of ESG. Law firms need to be able to articulate their journey in terms of where they are in relation to ESG, because we know it's so important now that so many clients will ask us what social value we can bring. What do we do in terms of how we interact with our local community? It's not just about, yes, we can do the work. Everybody knows we can do the work. It's about what added value do we bring? Are we truly walking the walk in terms of ESG? Do we have net zero transition plans? Are we mentoring people from particular groups that we know are underrepresented in law? Are we focusing? Have we had a sort of interrogated ourselves and understood where we can do better in terms of ESG metrics, in terms of where we can do better in terms of community outreach? So not only is it hugely important that law firms look to themselves and be able to articulate where they are in terms of ESG, but it's completely vital to be able to lead our clients through this, because it's not unusual for me to get in front of clients and talk to them about ESG and them say, "Do you mean recycling?" Even with it being such a buzzword and there being so much discussion about whether the term ESG is helpful or a hindrance, and it's been very much politicized in the United States, it's still something that a lot of clients will do if it's needed as part of financing, but otherwise they see it as, just part of corporate social responsibility, or they're not focused on it in the way that perhaps they need to be. And I mean, even in the UK, there is so much legislation coming down the line very rapidly that companies of size are going to need to get on board with very quickly. I mean, for example, in May of this year, the sustainability disclosure requirements are coming into force in the United Kingdom, which includes an anti-greenwashing rule. And this requires that any FCA regulated firm that is making any kind of sustainability claim has to ensure that such claims are clear and transparent. But it extends to some unusual things. So for example, the anti-greenwashing rule requires that you can't have misleading logos, colors, and imagery. So if you think about some of our clients that are off there producing all this beautiful marketing material, that has, green trees and blue skies and all looks beautifully put together, because that's the kind of stock imagery that they are used to using, because it's very pleasing on the eye. Now they could find themselves falling afoul of this anti-greenwashing rule. And it's probably something they've not even thought of, because that's just something that the marketers would produce. They've not even thought about the fact that if they are FCA regulated and they're trying to sell their sustainability fund, and actually it's not as sustainable as it should be, and you have green trees plastered all over the marketing, all of a sudden they're going to find themselves in a great deal of difficulty. And they need to be guided through this. And I think that's our role, to try and guide them through the maze of these regulations that are coming in. I mean, another great example is IFRS S1 and S2. And I do know that people's eyes tend to glaze over when I mention them. These are the two global sustainability standards that have been published last year, by the International Sustainability Standards Board. And again, the UK is in the process of consulting, or it will be later this year, on what size companies those particular two disclosure requirements will apply to. But people haven't really, to the extent of the conversations that I have, people aren't focusing on them. They're thinking, well, it's only really going to apply to really big companies. But of course, all of these things are going to have a huge trickle-down effect. It might only apply to the very largest of companies initially, but there is a very clear direction of travel as to the fact that all of these organizations are going to need to produce, not just a standalone sustainability report, but they are going to have their sustainability disclosures enshrined within their accounts. And obviously, from a liability perspective, there is a huge difference between having something in a standalone sustainability report that you have produced and having it enshrined in your accounts. And there are so many other things in the UK. We have the Task Force on Nature-related Financial Disclosures. There is a move towards everybody producing net zero transition plans. There is so much coming up over the next couple of years. I've said that while there's been a sort of a time of discussion, I really do think 2024 on is now very much a year of action when it comes to climate-related disclosure. And so we need, as law firm, to be able to guide our clients through this. It's kind of the Wild West out there. I mean, in social housing, a number of my clients entered into sustainability-linked loans, and just trying to guide them through setting ESG metrics, getting the data in, moving towards science-based metrics, which so many organizations are simply not set up for. And things like that are very, very tricky. And then, of course, you have the world of ESG verification, the second-party opinion providers. And this can be incredibly overwhelming for people, particularly those who are smaller companies that are starting their ESG journey, looking to how they might start sustainability reporting. This becomes, it becomes overwhelming. And so I think it is absolutely vital that law firms have the ability to try and guide people through this. But I also do think it's important that law firms partner with trusted partners. And I promise the Disruption House haven't paid me to say this, because what's been interesting for me has been trying to work out where I bring value and where you need to bring in a trusted partner that can assist. Because as a lawyer, I can help guide people through setting metrics. I can help them with drafting their internal policies. I can guide them, but I can't help them collect the data. I can't provide them with an ESG questionnaire. I can't necessarily perhaps provide them with the tech that will assist them. And this is where I think trusted partners like the Disruption House come in, so that there needs to be an ability for us to work together to be able to ensure that we are providing an absolutely full service to our clients, because it's kind of the Wild West out there and there is so much coming down the line. And I think that it's sort of on all of us to accept that we can't be ESG specialists overnight. We can't become experts, but we do need to try very, very hard to guide our clients through this and use whatever resources are available to us in order to help them achieve their ESG goals.